Continuous glucose monitors are an excellent tool, and this video is an educational guide on how and why we use them. A CGM, or continuous glucose monitor, is a small device that sticks to your arm or body with a tiny filament that pokes into your skin, which you can't feel. It can measure blood sugar continuously for 2 weeks, and that gives you real-time feedback on your blood sugar levels. It's particularly useful in patients who have tried everything and are not seeing results for their metabolic health. CGMs help us identify factors, that be they foods, fasting periods, stress, sleep, pain, that influence metabolism, and that is the body's use of fuel for energy. So why would you use a CGM? Well, we know that consistently normal and stable sugars translate to good metabolic health. And if this occurs for long enough, weight loss and the reversal of metabolic syndrome follows. Patients then often wonder, well, when can I relax my diet and go back to eating X, Y, and Z? And if you want to know how your body handles different foods, a CGM can really help you understand your best individualized long-term approach. So if you can afford this, even for a couple of 2-week intensive periods during your journey, it's a very insightful tool. And to put it in perspective, the device costs about $6.60 per day. If you were it every day for a year, it would cost you a little over $2,400, which for many people is less than what they spend on alcohol or coffee. And so remember, this is optional. It's important physiological data that helps us track your progress and motivate you. But again, if you find it upsets you or lowers your motivation, take a break from measuring and simply focus on your diet. So ordering a CGM is very easy. This particular brand I have no affiliation with. These are designed for type 1 diabetic patients, or at least originally were. And for certain patients, there are rebates, but under medical supervision, most patients can certainly utilize the same technology if they're willing to pay for the cost of the sensor and if you understand the risks and benefits. So this one is Abbott Healthcare who sell this. They cost $92.50 and they sync with a recent iPhone, or you can use a sensor that they make. And the newest model is called the Libra 2, and it's pretty much the same as this older model, but it's a little bit more accurate and it only syncs with smartphones. There is another company called Dexcom, and their devices are even more accurate, but they're much more expensive. So in diabetic patients, they sometimes choose to utilize those. I'll have a couple of links down in the description for people that make these devices. As I said, I have no commercial conflicts of interest. This is purely for patient information. So how do we apply a CGM? So I'm now going to unbox this CGM and apply it to myself. And I'm going to sync it, show you how to sync it with your phone as well. I use an iPhone, but most modern phones are compatible beyond iPhone 7 and beyond the Samsung S5 models. But you can check their compatibility on the Abbott website. You can also go to Abbott and view their official educational videos, which are very helpful. If you don't have a compatible phone, there is a guide, and you will need to purchase the sensor and get the original Libra 1 model. But I think the advantage of the phone is that it allows you to actually keep a comprehensive food and lifestyle diary. You can keep notes on your phone that really help you understand and put your glucose levels in context. We can go through all that information at follow-up appointments to find what does work and what doesn't work for you. So the first thing to do is to take the sensor out and load it. So this is the sensor in here, and this is the loading device. So unscrew the loading device, and you will see an unloaded loading device. We then peel back the actual sensor. So the sensor is contained within here. We line the loading device up with the sensor so their 12 o'clock positions match. So vertically we can see that matches up with that vertical line. And from this point onwards, we push it in and you'll feel a spring. So you'll feel it spring in and it's ready to go now. If you have a look inside now, you'll see this is the end of the sensor that goes into your skin. That's the end of the sensor that goes into your skin, and It's a flexible monofilament, and you actually cannot feel this. So there's a lot, you can put this sensor virtually anywhere on your body, but the usual place is the back of your arm. You want to make sure you don't go too high up and too much on the side of the shoulder, because that can lead you to roll onto it at night, and then it makes it inaccurate and gives you a bit of irritation. The sensor weighs 50 grams, which is very light. So the biggest problem that people have is that it falls out if they walk into the edge of a doorway or they take the shirt off too quickly. So you will forget that it's there. Therefore, I recommend you try and keep it covered wherever possible. So now it's loaded and it's ready to go, and all you need to do from this point on is push it straight against the part of your body that you want to apply it to, not at an angle. If you apply it at an angle, then the little monofilament will bend and not enter your skin, and push it straight in and it will release the spring. So apply a little bit of an alco swab to the back part of the tricep. I think between the deltoid and the triceps, the best spot, and clean it with alcohol at a point where you can reach there, and then just push it in. It feels like nothing, you don't know it's there. I usually just hold it there for 5 or 6 seconds, and then I gradually take the pressure off, and there it is. Continuous glucose monitor is now applied. At this stage, the sensor is applied and you need to set up your account with the LibraLink app, which can be downloaded on the App Store or Google Play or whatever your app store is. I've set up my account, so it's ready for me to apply the sensor. I just hit next, and then it will ask me to scan a new sensor, and I'll hit that, and then take it to your arm. You can see I have a layer of clothing between me and the sensor now, and there it is. It will be ready in 1 hour. So it takes 60 minutes to calibrate. Over the first 24 hours, it can be a little bit fluctuant. It takes a little while before it becomes as stable measures again. But the app will be ready in 1 hour, and you use the top part of your phone, usually the part that you would use to pay wave, for example, to wave and hover that over the sensor. So it's a good idea to have some dressings to cover the sensor to make sure that it doesn't get pulled out, because once it's out, it can't go back in. And every time you measure your glucose, simply open the app, tap check glucose, wave the top part of the phone near the sensor, and most importantly, enter a new note. So the information is put in context. What did you eat? How are you feeling? Had you done recent exercise? So to get the most out of your CGM, these are my top tips. Measure frequently, several times a day, to get as many data points as you can, and definitely around meal times. Make notes within the app so that each time you get a measurement, you can correlate that to what was happening, so you can put it in perspective and understand why your glucose levels go up or down. Avoid submersion in deep water. The sensor is water resistant but not waterproof, so don't go diving. Use a dressing to cover it, and be careful when taking on shirts and taking off shirts. As I said, the biggest problem is that it pulls out and people forget that it's there. And finally, accept that there are times where it won't be as accurate, such as with a hot shower, it tends to overestimate, or at night if you're lying on it, it tends to underestimate. There's also a small lag between the tissue glucose, which we're measuring here, and the blood glucose. So blood glucose will go up first, and then tissue glucose will be lagging behind just a little bit, but the trend will still be much the same. And finally, make sure you listen to and watch the low carb checklist. And if you're having any difficulty downloading the app or obtaining a continuous glucose monitor, you can contact our office for some help.